Good day, all. This is kind of a tough video for me, but we've got to press forward and learn and see if we can find connections in the great ocean here of thought that we found ourselves in. So here I'm talking to you about psyops primarily from my youth, which is technically any time before the present moment, but when I was living in my childhood home and so forth, this is when most of these things happened. There's a handful that went on afterwards that are worth mentioning, but the majority of this video is going to center in on those young years. And without further ado, because this is such an integral video to understanding the depth of the personal psyops that we're being harmed with. Yes, nothing like 9/11 or the school shootings or things like that, fake war, or heck, even breast cancer, as messed up as that is, like that being probably fake, and if it is real, it's a result of fake breast tissue being implanted, silicone being implanted in the non-bosom of a swire and then being inflated, and then maybe they would be like, oh well, now your body is going to have a response, you fucking noob, because you put weird foreign contaminant inside of it, and here we are. So that whole nonsense. I digress. This psyop is integral. It has to do with fake animals, and this is very similar to a picture that was all over a wall in my house. What I mean by that is a koala portrait taken at the Australia Zoo, and my two younger brothers, who both went on solo Australia experiences when they were young. Us being from Connecticut, this was a big deal. Not many people I knew of went to Australia, so they got to go. That was pretty neat and a special experience for them. And it went on to be especially special for my youngest brother, who now lives over there. And I'm on pretty good terms with him. And yeah, he's a good dude. But this I can't stray away from, and I'm not in alignment with him on this. That was taking pictures with what is a fake animal. Koalas. They are, in my humble opinion, clearly fake. I do not see a shred of evidence of them existing. They are the most ridiculously expressed animal I've ever heard. One of the most, among other satanic fake animals. Obviously, sloth is very similar and is the highest equivalency to koala. I wouldn't be surprised if koala means sloth in some other language. I haven't looked into it, but it would make sense. I could do more digging on that front. But the idea is, my brothers both went over there. They went to the Australia Zoo. And at the Australia Zoo, they took a picture with a koala. And much like this lady, who I believe has the good, yeah, duping delight. I cannot unsee that. That is what it is to me. Maybe she's got a goofy little smile, but I see duping delight in those eyes. Because you could not know this whole thing beforehand, but if you touch these koalas, I'm sure they, immediately. And I feel like they're told to, because they're just going to shut it down or not allow, like maybe have it like, oh, the koalas need to do something if there's somebody in the audience who they don't want to know. I mean, they think about it, how this place works, all the hand signs, and how it's just ridiculous how this place works. It is a farm. It's a strange psychological cult of personality farm. And this is one of their little jokes that they play. And this was one that was this is on the main wall. So this is right next to our front door growing up for like the teenage years onwards. So like a good like decade of time, this koala wall was up in building. My mom finally got one as well. Thank goodness my dad didn't partake in this. My not real biological dad, of course, as I've talked about on this channel, but he didn't. Thank goodness. But I thought this was grotesque, especially considering it didn't end. The koala wall didn't end. It went on. So when my daughter was born in 2020, sorry, uh, this continued. My mom got us a koala bowl, a koala backpack, a koala little plant hanger thing that I'm gonna show you later in the video. A koala hat, koala beanie. Yes, it was ridiculous, and she still has some of these things, but we've cycled most of it out, and it's just they're cute. Sure, you can make a cute fuzzy fake thing, but what it represents is so messed up. It's like circus world where everything's phony and fake, and I can't support it. So this is grotesque to me. So yeah, if you've had any fake animals in your life that have been just put up front and center to you, I feel like in my way, also like I'm sure many of you guys have experienced, it's just innate because it's probably the worst category of fake animal is the primates, the orangutans, the gorillas and such. There's so many movies devoted to them and video games and such. So I feel a special, in the same way the koala wall's been pushed. Those animals, especially of the those ones, have been pushed heavily, and it doesn't feel like it's quite as weird from a specific person like the way my mom is with the koala, which is I'm very thankful for. If I had some weird gorilla person in my life going nuts all around, that'd be so bizarre. But yeah, if you guys have had weird fake animal stuff, especially pushed on you, a strange family member doing things, I can sympathize. It is really strange. So then this next one, perhaps you've had people that come back from holiday, or maybe a sibling that you find gets hurt or something. In my case, it was a sibling. And what commonly would be is like a eyebrow scar. You see them often for Martins. They want to enhance their brow ridge to appear more masculine. I suppose it also happens with swires too. I just don't see it as often. And then the chins, right? Chin scars. They get chin surgeries of all sorts. So my story went when I was about 10 years old. I remember I just started fifth grade, or wasn't long into fifth grade. Well, no, it must have been fairly far. I was like midway through fifth grade. My brother was out sledding, and we were all actually sorry we were all out sledding. A couple family friends were out too. So 10, 8. My brother, youngest brother, was 6, and then maybe a couple friends across the street. There was some serious snow. It was probably at least 3, 4 inches pack on the road, which was significant. And my brother was maybe 30 feet uphill from me, and I slid down, and I was doing fine going over the curb. We lived on the corner of a hill, and it was a cute little house on like a half acre. Good things about it, bad things about it, you know. And he apparently he was out he was tubing. He tubed down, and he crashed headfirst over the curb and hit his chin on the pavement, and got a big red gash. And I didn't get a good look at it. I remember that significantly. I remember I didn't get a good look at it. I was probably the last one to the scene, and then we went to go to the hospital later that night, and he went in and got stitches. And then he's had this butt chin ever since. I don't think I didn't. It's not, like my childhood is not that vivid to me for probably a lot of good reasons, a lot of interesting reasons. Um, but I I do not believe that happened the way it did. It didn't make sense. Like I said, the snowpack was decent that day. It seems sketchy to me. I had a similar experience. Hans has a video that he talks about where he swung his bat. He was playing baseball with his family, and he swung his bat back, and apparently, like the bat flew back and hit his brother, but he didn't feel like he did that. Like he didn't throw his bat back that hard, and I had a similar experience in my friend's backyard growing up, and that it's just it's so weird that they do that when they don't have to do it at all. They could just tell you. They have to like act it out. It's bizarre, but I guess we live in a place where people think where we go is a new set, a new scene, and that's their mindset. So yeah, I thought this was a injury, and if you had people with phantom injuries, I also sympathize with you. You're not alone. If someone especially uses numbers with 7s and 11s when they're referring to their injury, and yeah, they get weird about it. Maybe they throw gang sign or look away. Yeah, pay attention to these things. Just because someone says something, you gotta test the spirits. Okay, so this image, it's kind of broad, regarding open and broad regarding this concept here. But yeah, there was three of us, purely in that sense that maybe the two further away from us are like on a little bit more insular, and the one on the end here is more representative of what I felt was my place in our little trio for the most part. And this also has to do with what they told me plainly was that, or is that, I have different DNA than my two brothers. They have a different father than I do. She wanted the same donor for all of us, and that's what I was told. Uh, I don't I don't believe she had me. As I just had said before, I just don't believe it based on her skeleton. If she indeed did have me, I hope to figure that out and apologize for saying what I just said. But I don't see it. I have this weird experience when my youngest brother was being born that she had me come over and listen to her belly. And it was an isolated incident. She was around other friends, and I didn't hear anything because he was supposedly kicking at that time. And I remember feeling it was really strange, and nothing went beyond that. I was not around for, yeah, I did not get to come in the room when he was being born. It was really strange, and I believe that there was some surrogate involved or something, because something's amiss, and I don't really know my origin, so it's really confusing. So there's that aspect of it, to get a little bit of a background. And what I primarily want to reference with this image, though, is that my brothers got trips that I didn't get to go on together, like specifically with them together. We each got like solo trips, or like solo trips with parents that made sense, to a sporting event, to an event, whatever, it made sense. But there were multiple with just them together, and one out to Canada, one out to New York, and they just stick out to me like a sore thumb as some sort of, maybe it's nothing, but it felt strange to me that I never had that with either of them remotely to that extent. Like maybe we would go across town to a game. Like it wasn't, oh, you're going out to Canada together. I didn't go out to Canada. I still haven't been out to Canada with my family, even though we could easily have gone there. Like it's ridiculous. Um, yeah, yeah. So if you felt like there were some weird trips that went on in your life and your family that give you pause, that didn't make sense in the context of things. Like I referenced those Australia trips my brothers went on. I went on a Hawaii one, and we all went on one when we were 12 years old. So like that all made sense. That was logical. These trips did not. And I also went on like a different volunteer trip, but it was like, again, it was by myself. So I was like, okay, and it was very much like put on me. Like I didn't even look into it. I was just like, oh, here's this trip that exists and is here, and they gave it to me, and now I'm gonna go there and volunteer. And it was fun. I had a good time. Met some cool people. I don't know, but it didn't feel. I didn't. I was like made to be aware of it. I wasn't searching for it. But to get on topic, these trips my brothers went on, they felt weird. I'd have to dig deeper to find out more, like think about it more deeply, to think about what happened after that trip, and remember those days more clearly. But as of right now, they just stand out like a sore thumb. So it's interesting too, talking about this at this moment. I have a brother I want to see again. I both my brothers I want to see. I'd like to see them every week. I like to see them often. One of them I get along with pretty well. The other one I don't talk to very much, and I don't think we get along all that well. We did say happy birthday to each other this year, so hopefully it gets better. I want our relationships to get better, of course. And I understand that on Earth, it's kind of difficult because it does feel like our true family is not necessarily blood, it's more so in spirit. And it makes sense. It's like we have to go out here to find things and learn, and it's rare to have it where it happens to be your family. And I like to think my family now is that, but you also can't get in the way of that too. Like I don't want to hinder my family by trying to force family on them, if that makes sense. You want to flow together. And if you do flow together, that's when everything's brilliant and everything sparkles and shines and things go swimmingly well. It's when we feel like we need to harness somebody and put them in boxes and tell them how to do things, or rein them in and get on their ship and change the whole deck, then that's where things go awry. So having faith in our loved ones and friends is important. And then, yes, okay, of course, personality and what we're actually interested in is clearly important. But I think there's a deeper set truth of that practices you're doing that will lead to true friendships, that regardless of your personality, if you have a conscious nonviolent perspective, for example, you're going to draw other people that also have a conscious nonviolent perspective. That's just how life works. So yeah, moving on. Yeah, the chin jobs, it's that simple, really. Look, the chin gets wider, gets his little scar there, and then, oh, well, look at that. What do you know? Got a little gonadial jaw implant. So I don't know if this is supposed to be a Bafo sign, as in, like, this is a BS article. That's why I took the image, just to, like, get your guys' take on that. Like, oh, here's a BS article that was just, like, fantastical in nature and more witchery. These both look like clear swires to me. I don't think it's even a question. We've just done this. It's so obvious at this point. It's just part of life at this point. I'm kind of bored of talking about it. But one thing that I want to bring up regarding this is maybe a parent saying that they wish you were the opposite gender. And this is depending on how they say it and how often they say it. So I think I think a parent could say this like once, but if you like pressured them to say it or asked about it, like, oh, what would you have, if I was were you considering something if I was a girl, or like, oh, the name or whatever. But like this came to me on, I didn't say anything. She just brought it up, and she only brought it up to me. She didn't bring it up to either of my brothers. Was, I wish you were, or I really had wanted a girl. I was really excited for a girl, and it's not that I was like let down when you were born. I really wanted a girl. And basically said it like that, and even said Courtney was going to be my name, and like didn't do this with either of my brothers, and it was so weird. And there are other little comments that stuck with me growing up, little things that stick with you. When my dad said, "You're just like your mother," and kind of chuckled aside to himself for a moment, because like, yeah, I'm very much, our energy is very similar. Like, we're very hyperactive people and pretty loud, honestly, and can be annoying. Both of us can be pretty annoying people. For good or bad. I guess generally being annoying is bad. You have to have faith in people and know that they're going to do the right thing, not push them. Going forward. Oh, the other thing. This is scary. I've never understood this combination. Like, I'm not trying to be mean here, but what are you doing with that black and red Joker face? Like, that is scary looking. And your eyes are wide open and you got a little bit of wonk. Like, what? Why do you expect me to go to this? Like, I feel like I'm talking to some, like, half corpse because of just your makeup. Like, take the makeup off and you're a prettier person. Put something, put some aloe vera on if you feel like you're dried out. Jeez. Like, I do not understand makeup. Makeup makes you look gross. It's disgusting. It tastes gross. I I almost want to puke at all the makeup I've kissed in my life. Just ooh, like it's gross. Um, but the deeper one, deeper cut here was the fake fight. Okay, this is a big one. I'm sure you've had a lot of these in your life if you're not in this stupid club. Is the most recent one being the most important here for me. In 2019, just prior to my daughter being born, we were having a Christmas experience of the ages. It was really interesting, and that all the people in my family, nuclear family, were there last time that happened before my parents got divorced. And what kicked this whole thing off, and like they just wanted to make a grand cataclysm, it seemed, was my brother bringing home his partner for the first time. They had only talked, my youngest brother, and my youngest brother's partner and my mom had only talked over Skype or Zoom, and they like got along. They didn't, it's not the same. You have to meet them in person. To just see somebody over Skype or Zoom, you don't get any real depth of relationship in my eyes, at least in my lifetime. You have to meet them in person to really understand them, in my opinion, really like feel them and experience them and so forth. So, sorry, this is scaring me. I'm gonna go back to this one, slightly less scary. Sorry. Excuse me. So they get in a little tizzy upon her visiting, and while we were there, we could sense something was a little bit of awry, but like it didn't feel that strong. So we leave, we like come back, whatever, and apparently she and my mom were arguing over the Christmas dinner. It was such a big kerfuffle over this Christmas dinner, and she's like, "Oh, like I'm so hungry right now. Can I have macaroni and cheese?" And my mom is like, "I'm making this big dinner. I cannot like have you taking over my kitchen for macaroni and cheese." It is this nonsense nothing. They clearly made it up in 5 minutes. Little dilemma. And then she goes upstairs. She's frustrated, and she comes down. And then as she's about to come down to the base of the stairs, she stops halfway up. And she's like, "I feel like I'm being treated like a slave or like a an outcast or something." And so it's this nonsense. And my mom says, "Well, I feel like you're acting like you need to be entitled and handed everything as soon as you wanted and so forth." And she did give off this kind of air, but when you like, it's like the acting thing. It's like I feel like it's all acting. They're all making this whole shenanigans up. And then what cemented this home to me is my mom kept bringing this up, bringing this up, bringing this up, and I'm like, it's just this non-issue, like standard. Oh, little she's hungry. You like this traditional person saying we gotta eat the whole meal together. You're gonna wait, and not being more accommodating. Like you're kind of being a little bit weird, but this doesn't strike me as genuine. But I have my questions. But then what really cemented it home for me was my mom visited them, and then immediately she's like, "Oh, every as soon as I came in and visited out in Australia, everything was fine, and we got along swimmingly, and there wasn't really much. It just was like completely melted, dematerialized, and that can happen, sure, but she made it seem like it was this big, like all the family split apart. I can't stand her for years type experience. When all along it's just been this fake, nonsensical thing. And I think there may be like a shard of truth to this, but the extent that they play it out is so insane. And I think it's clearly done just to mess with us. And yeah, so if you've had family members that you feel in your heart have just made nothing fights or made complete nonsensical arguments, they turn them into these rages where every time you see them, it needs to get mentioned and referenced because it's this family member's relationship. Maybe it has to do with their partner. It's ridiculous. My partner and I were like, just exhausted and bored, and we're like, we never come to you with anything like this, and it's all the day long with you guys. Like it's all day long. So take a deep breath and acknowledge that even in families, the lies are deep and it's sickening. And I think we can pray for them deeply and truthfully, not just for our own betterment, but for genuinely for their betterment, for the betterment of the world and the betterment of our connectivity. Because what are we doing here if not to give God everything that we can? Okay, so this idea I referenced earlier, yeah, it's right there. It's just like in China, so messed up. My mom, like, just being weird about it. Just this idea in general. Why is it like this? Why it shouldn't matter. It's equal. It's completely equal at heart. We know it's equal. One needs the other. They're so integral. Mother, child, daughter, or sorry, mother. What do I say? Excuse me, I'm a little bit stoned. Father, mother, daughter, Father, Mother, Son. Doesn't matter the order, but that's the Trinity. That's the central Trinity, in my opinion. Yes, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, that's within. That's the connection to the heavens. That's eternal. That's important to understand. And for those who don't, it makes perfect sense. The Holy Ghost concept is such a it's perfectly it's a perfect explanation for everything. You have this internal moral compass. It is like a subtle ghost that resides inside of you for your whole life. That's what I've felt my whole life. That knows every decision I'm gonna make before I make it, or it knows my inkling and guides me along in the good path and is always present in there, but doesn't ever speak loudly, ever, and only is there to help. It's amazing, but will leave if I behave terribly and may only be returning now that I'm behaving much better than I used to when I was young. So, Holy Ghost is really everything because I think we all have that inside of us. And then I had a little experience when I was in high school where one of the people in my quote unquote friend group, again, I friend with quotation marks because they would go out, they would all have these big shenanigans, giant events without me, and then blatantly bring them up, and then just be like, oh, well, oh, we all went, but then you didn't come, we didn't, they would just phrase it in such a mean, like, you didn't come, basically, like, oh, we didn't invite you, or we forgot to, and I just let it slide for years, and I mean, truly, it's weird to think back on. I guess the idea being that those cliquish friend groups of high school, they're like protective in a sort of tortoise sense. You know, there's all this strange changes going on with puberty. There's confusing experiences and people moving around a lot, and it all being congested in this place, public high school, 350 something students, I think is what it was when I was back there. It makes sense to have these smaller herds and feel comfort while all this chaos is going on, this sort of organized chaos that is designed to break you down because it's wrong. Fake war, fake fake globe stuff. That's obviously, it goes way down in high school. They just have like these little references because it's so dumb, but uh it's still around, it's still present, and beyond fake slavery stuff, fake so much just chaos on the brain for no reason, instead of, oh, like, it doesn't okay, let's say slavery is genuine, existed, all that, it's important to know about it, but to labor over it the way they do, and also it's not the way that it's obviously not done the way that they express it, because they're Masonic and they try to make everything as intimidating and scary as possible, but not in the way that you can really ever know, and it's annoying, and people that go along with it are insane. But then again, two different sets of children here we're dealing with. Um, so here, I think this guy's even throwing horns. I mean, he might be. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't think he actually is there. It does matter, but I don't think he is. They're not at the same depth. Whatever. Wearing a tiara though. I was given a tiara in high school, and I remember at lunch, and this person in our friend group was just, hey, wear the tiara, and she's like, oh, hey, Princess Christmas, and she's like, stand up, and then I stood up, and then I was just like, here, like I gave it back to her almost instantly. This is ridiculous. I've I've been offered to wear like, I don't know, what is it, not really lip gloss, no, but like yeah, fingernails, toe, manicure, uh, just all sorts of makeup stuff, and it grosses me out. I recall putting some on my toes, and just the smell it made me feel sick. It's like it felt wrong immediately, and I'm like, this is vanity, and I didn't even have the words for it back then. I didn't have, this is gross. I don't like it. This is disgusting. I'm not into it. I'll paint this on a picture. I like using glitter in paintings. I don't care. I can make a good area of a painting. You want to bring some like stalactites to life or something, sure. But to or yeah, I don't know, mystical creature, sure. But to put it on my fingernails, and I don't know, it's just weird to me. Doesn't I don't. It makes me. I just want to scrub it off. It makes me uncomfortable. Oh, and then the middle schoolers, of course, you know this. You know the middle schooler nonsense they used to pull. Oh my god, this was so weird. This was like seventh grade too. This was early, and then it was evident by eighth grade in my school back in the early 2000s was, yeah, the gawky brace faced people everywhere. And then beyond that, this digit ratio thing, and there was no adult source saying openly, this is what digit ratio means. We didn't get any of that education. No. We had students saying, oh, dick size. That was one of the minor ones. But then another one was, yeah, that was like some of the female, male. Oh, I don't know. And now you're a dude. But like there's the confusion around it so that they can program you into being like, oh, I don't know what any of this means. So it's kind of, it's really a programming on us to have this come out the way they do it. Like it's kind of little in huddles. Oh, look at the fingers, and check out what they say, and oh, this dick size, and get them all stirred up about it, so they don't really make sense of it. When I've talked about it before, it's generally pretty clear. It's generally pretty clear, but yeah, there's camera tricks, and it's not fail safe. You need to check other things as well. So just, but the fact that it's brought up all the time, like as a big deal, it is telling as to weirdness going on in this world, and public school being a whole militaristic complex in it of itself is very telling of how this world is. Do not send your children to public school. It is evil. This is a really sad one. Maybe the saddest part of this video to me at heart is this idea of losing a friend. It feels like I've lost a friend. I like to think I'm friends with him, but it's hard to believe it. And I feel like being honest is what's most important. I've had a lot of nostalgia of late. I've made music that relates to my old video games. I just have had a lot of slow moving experiences about accepting my youth as it is and allowing it to flow over me and move beyond me, because it's always with us, and but we also have to accept the darkness and the evils that went on, that we know went on within. And one of them, in my opinion, was clear, would never have happened had this club not existed, because it was like night and day. It wasn't fair. And it just didn't make sense. Like maybe this person and I didn't have the most in common, but we would always, it doesn't make sense. This person moved in when I had already been there for like a couple years, my neighborhood, and he was my first real close friend in my neighborhood. I had acquaintances, but he was the first one I hung out with often. We got along. We got liked a lot of the same things, and maybe we were young, and a lot of this was just had to do with basic physics and colors and a lot of the same everything video games and shows that people were expressing, and sports and stuff like that. Like a lot of us were getting a lot of the same stuff, and there's an aspect of that you can be looked at. But I felt like we both were really intelligent, and we got along on a deeper level, and played this no I game, and that wasn't common. We weren't like, I don't know. I felt like we had an authentic relationship in our childhood. And I really treasure that. I treasure that. I'll treasure that my whole life. I'll treasure it. But what happened when I got to middle school was, I, I'll try to explain this the best I can. I he yeah, it's like a caricature. Like it's like he became part of this group, this club. It felt like it, and he stopped being in classes with me, and we did talk a lot. So there was something to be said about that. Like, okay, maybe it has to do with disciplinary reasons, and you want everybody to listen and so forth. But it felt wrong. It's like, no, we should learn to be better together. We are such good friends. We can bring other people up, right? Or maybe we can tag team and then be in different classrooms, but like still see each other, hang out all the time, have a lot in common, be always be close. And this is what changed. And I didn't do anything fundamental for this to happen. It didn't feel like there was this great thing I did to force this sort of thing to happen. And then I think in life we have to allow ourselves to let people move along and whatnot. But this felt artificial to me, and it always will feel artificial to me, and it hurts really bad that I feel like the last real free martin friendship I ever had was this person, and it ended then, and I've never really had a deep relationship with someone who happens to be that since. Never really. Like some small lived relationships, but nothing to that extent, and and it's all that they always, as RFTK Ohio puts it, is exactly, they always have a better relationship with somebody else than you, and I think that's expected in life a lot of the time anyway, but it's like a given. It's like they won't even be open to it, and it's, I don't know. The world's vast in some ways. I have hope, but stuff like that really hurts deep down. So if you had a friend that started doing weird shit like these people, like one eye, look at this picture. Are you kidding me? That's why I picked this up. It's just weird, cultic crap that they gotta throw in your face all the time. And yeah, you stand out like a sore thumb. You're the black sheep. You're the heifer in this situation, the cow in a family of wolves. Such a strange soup slurry we find ourselves in. And he wasn't the only friend. Like there were other people that I felt like this. Like they like this caricature thing. Like I'm not trying to, like, this is just what happens, I think, if you are adhered to a club. Like this is what taking oaths does to you, is it makes you into a clown. And it's sad. And I do not condone it. I don't understand it. I don't know how anybody could, unless it's all they know. And I'm not saying there isn't a lot of beauty in this world. There's a lot of amazing, wonderful things going on. And I think I'm blind to a lot of amazing, wonderful things. But this is obvious to me. This is plain as day. If you start throwing gang signs and acting in this way, you're gonna become. Look at how orange this picture is. You're gonna become a caricature. And I just don't know how anybody could be genuine. I don't understand how people can act like this. It blows my mind. It's there every day, and it doesn't go away. And it's like all we can do is bring more meaning through our good works and our endurance and our goodwill and faith, and just look at these people and pray for them, and hope that people break out of their spells and stop doing things that ultimately harm them. That's, yeah. Oh, this was a weird one. So this is when I was very young, when I was 4 years old, and I first moved to our new neighborhood. We went from a condo in the southern part of the state to more of the central part of the state with a house. Sorry for the pen clicking. Within the first week, I don't remember if it was the first, it might have been the first day. It was like really early in the experience. The entire street of quote unquote boys comes over my house and has us all go down to the basement, and we all compare penis sizes. Now I'm like four. There's a couple other 4 year olds over. There's like a 5 year old. There's a boy that is, oh, he might have been 9 at that time, and we're all comparing penises. Like that is weird. I think, is that not weird? Isn't that bizarre? I guess it technically isn't that bizarre. There's probably tribes and that are way more tightly knit, and it's normal. But I did not feel comfortable during that, and at the end of the day, it's like this. It's, who cares? We're all, whatever. Uh, and it doesn't really matter as long as it functions. And if it doesn't function, then we work on it, and it's not a big deal, right? It's not a big deal. It's a stupid thing to care about your penis problems and get all crazy about it. It's like you're born with what you're born with, and you do everything you can in a health perspective to do better with it. I'm mutilated. I'm a standardly circumcised nowadays person. They took the whole thing off. But that's standard today. That's normal. They used to take way less off. And I don't know if I agree with it entirely, but that's just important to know, is that they used to take way less, and it was a little bit more ethical than it is now. We mark everything. I mean, I was just learning about horses yesterday. The lady, I went over her house for a quote, and she's amazing person. She's working with wild horses out in my region now, and she, yeah. Sorry, I'll move this past that, but um, it's it's a vast world. Maybe I'll get back to that point. Sorry about that confusion. Um, and this feeling in general of being left out, it's it sucks. It sucks to be just to know. I have too many. It was just like endless. I went on this trip to Belgium and it was with a cousin and the guy that I went with. And the guy I went with, I was like close friends with. I felt I was close friends with him since I was a youth. But then on this trip, it was so obvious that I was ostracized by them the entire time. And it's like, is there a potential that I'm just an asshole and I'm always bad and no one likes me and they just pretend to get along with me and all this? Maybe. But then Skull and Bones, all the signs, everything, you just see it. And it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a dude. Once you see these things and you're not in the club, it's it's just it's like a wall. It's like you can't ever go back. It's like, why were you trying to fit into something that you could not at all? And it's okay to be left out because you learn more from this group that is toxic. It's toxic. And there's toxic things in the horse community. I was learning about yesterday. There's people that go out there with motorcycles and chase horses and do all sorts of shitty things. There's people like that everywhere. There's people that do terrible things and only care about themselves. Narcissism is a blinder. It's what it is. It ruins your mind to be so vain and caring about your own status all the time. Does like this video, it's probably one of the least coherent pieces of shit I've ever put out. However, I'm going to put it out because in sections it's good, it's strong. And I apologize, but I would rather put out more content and do so in a way that is easy than painstakingly have to edit videos together. I may change and do more of that, but right now I'd rather do the former because it's, generally speaking, more engaging and interesting to hear people figure things out than say them perfectly sometimes. I've always found that. And my dad, whatever, I call him Pops, um, told me when I was 26 he wasn't my biological dad, which I think is pretty strange, but, well, God knows what's going on. Anyways, one of the best things he ever told me is that you gotta speak from your heart, and it's true. You can tell, so you bring this up all the time. You can tell so easily someone reading versus someone speaking from their heart, and it makes the world a difference. So even if your thoughts aren't totally, completely together, if you know the spirit of what you have to say, you have to go forward and say it, and I believe God will fulfill that for you if that spirit is genuine and not muddled by something that you know you can be doing better. So therefore, that is the explanation. Then I think this picture here is just it's just high school. It's nonsense. It's gossip leading to hellish behavior and phantasms and traumas and witches and just all sorts of nonsense. The Orange 33 Club being this kind of pall hung over the whole thing. It's disgusting how people behave in this time. And it is a zoo. And my daughter's not going to public school ever because of it. Both my partner and I have experienced the hell of it, and we're not doing that. And I'm going to prison. This place is in many ways a prison, but there's a way out of it. There's a way. We are finding it. We are realizing it. It is through breath, through accepting our truths and wearing our scars and allowing ourselves to come to these truths naturally without things like the media needing to influence us, without the false, phony clown things taking hold over our imaginations, our spirits, our hearts. They can be there, they can exist, and some of them may even offer insight and inspiration. But if it is determined that they ultimately are designed to take us away from deeper spiritual truth, then we need to put them down. And we need to find people that are willing to listen and to share these ideas freely without the hindrance of putting on an act or being a character. So this is oh boy. So we all know, or a lot of people know, Brave New World. That book, it's referenced often. So the Brave New World, there's a significant part of it that deals with soma and what that means. This litany of drugs that are good feeling drugs, and they keep people in good feeling despite, when you look at their lives, they seem so mundane and lame. They're playing, like, I forget, galactic golf or something, whatever they call it in that book. So my peers in high school took this idea of soma and made a whole skit out of it when we had a beach day as a friend group, right? And this was a beach day that they had already gone on beach days together as a whole friend group, and I was the only one who couldn't come, even though I was available. See, this kind of stuff happen all the time. So while I'm there, I'm hanging out with them, and really, I think back, I was just feeling ostracized then. As I, it just this life is so hard if you're not in this stupid. Not that it isn't. It's probably hard for them too. Just life is hard. Um, and the only thing they give me to do in this stupid little skit is to sit there on an inner tube and hold the squirt gun and wear sunglasses and shoot at the camera for 1 second while the rest of it goes on, and they're all walking around dazed on the beach. And it's kind of, I guess that's how they see it, is like, if we're a muggle, we're an outcast and we're the evil of the world. We can't do magic to them. Like, we're immediately considered outcasts. We're not special, not Adam Cadmon, not the eternal, what is it? Uh, the eternal androgyne nonsense that they peddle. Instead of, we're all human and capable of mistake, and we can create amazing things. And a lying club is evil, and its marks are everywhere, and it's the bane of existence. And they represent the opposite, in that me not being of the magical realm or whatever, the Hogwartsian people are the evil. So it's just stupid, and it's not logical. And I look back and I just don't know how I put up with this bullshit. But I didn't know, and I was probably lonely a lot, and this was my only form of socialization, was being made fun of. So, and then yeah, the cross dressing is just, it's like, I see Free Martin now, like this guy on the right or something, whatever. Like, who even knows? But let's just pretend Free Martin, got the beard. It's like, I don't mind. It's like, whatever, you do you. Like, it makes sense to you, whatever. And then even this, like, oh, I was, maybe this person's clearly a dude, but maybe born with a vagina. I don't know. It's like, it gets confusing, and it's ultimately like, you do you. I don't go too crazy with it. Don't scare children, please. Like, be mindful of your setting. Like, if it's Halloween, then you do you. I don't. Again, I'm not. I don't want to push Halloween, but it's like, there's this. It's like one day out of the year, and like, okay, if you're gonna go crazy, that's the day to do it. So that's my. Maybe I'm an old man, Mr. Flanders type character. Like, oh, I just have my coffee and my tea and chill out. And all those kids in their crazy outfits. Oh, I don't know what, but they gotta express themselves. Let them do what they got. So maybe the biblical approach and being like, oh, men shall wear what men wear, women shall wear. Okay, like maybe that applies just to the people that are regular men and regular in the sense that like you're born and that's and you yeah like me I didn't feel like I mean both RFTK Ohio and Snow Global have talked about they found pictures of themselves in dresses when they were young. I have not but what I said about my mom pushing the whole idea of wanting a girl, me specifically, my name, all that, like that kind of stuff gets me a little weirded out. It's just it's so bizarre. It's a clown world. And then this, oh god, to get this is a hard one. This is a hard one. Sorry. So most of the time, mushrooms are a fantastic experience for me. I've only had mostly, like I said, mostly had amazing experiences with psychedelic mushrooms. There have been a handful of times where things have been pretty damn scary and not very fun, and given me great pause with the entire experience as a whole. The worst experience I've ever had was when I was home after getting suspended from school for a semester for smoking cannabis and getting caught something like 5 to 8 times. I don't remember how many times. It was like a maximum 8, at least 5. One was in a porta potty. One was in a little toy house at a church. It was hilarious next to the campus. It was hilarious. It was just the most ridiculous nonsense. But anyways, I was home, and I have a friend from high school. You know, sort of like know him, like had decent interactions with him. Haven't talked to him too much, but whatever. You know, decent guy. He had mushrooms, and I've been wanting to take him for a while. I had taken them at college, and I wanted to take them in Connecticut. So I took them, and I took them with orange juice, which is a catalyst for those who don't know of psilocybin, and it enhances the effects and causes them to hit much faster. So I was exhausted at this point. I got them earlier in the day, and I took them at like 9 o'clock at night because I wanted to make sure my parents were asleep or like just on the verge of, so I could really enjoy this and get the full experience. So I go outside at the very beginning of this, and I'm like, oh my god, the clouds are starting to form into angelic imagery, and I'm seeing faces, I'm seeing smiling faces and stuff, and things seem very gentle and light. I'm so elated. Then I go down and I fall asleep in the basement, and there's this big sectional I'm on, and the sectional is it's a mass of creases, and it's old, and it's got like cat scratches all over it. And, oh man, fluff coming out of the corners and all sorts. This couch as a character unto itself has hosted video game parties, and soda has been spewed all over it, and just it's a gnarly sofa. And I'm passed out. I'm just conked out after like maybe an hour in. So things are really starting to hit, and I'm going into dream mode, and I start to envision myself outside of myself in this sort of like dad figure. It could have been like the Holy Ghost, but it was like transposed or trans formed onto my dad, or like that's sorry, that's not the right word. It was like my paternal I'll say this better. My paternal self was put upon my dad, and that paternal self talked to me while on this mushroom trip, coming out of it because it was stronger than normal. Plus, I was tired, so I went into this like almost like forced slumber, and then came into this dream that told me to come out. And I came out of this, and I was walking upstairs, and I'm freaked out, looking at this like this alter version of myself, and I'm like, I'm yelling up apparently for my dad. I'm like, Dad, Dad, and I go all the way up to my room, and I'm yelling and yelling, and both my parents come in, and I had this reaction when they came in, and it stuck with me for my whole life, and it's one of my most awful stories. But my dad said, he's like, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And I get to the end of my bed, and I turn around and I stick my butt out and I say, "Get it over with." And I did not have, like, I certainly was exposed to all sorts of gay media and I thought it was gross, but I did not have a gay bone in my body. I had not thought of this stuff in the slightest. But mushrooms tend to bring out weird shit. And I told my friends about this, and we were obviously young at the time. I was only 19 at the time when this happened. And I thought were my friends. And if they laughed about this experience, even though it was really unnerving. And it may be, I'm not saying this is for certain, but it may be that I was sodomized when I was a child, and this satanic cult is pretty damn evil. And that's what that was I was just saying, I know what you're going to do to me. I know what, or maybe that I've been drugged and this has already been done to me. Or it just freaked me out. And I felt like there's a reason that's come to be. And I think that this kind of stuff does go on. I think that evil stuff like this goes on. I mean, Sodom and Gomorrah, and if they really are lying about all this stuff, like, who's to say they didn't do this to us? I'm trying. I wish this didn't come to me, but it did when I was this age. And then this hellish trip proceeded into a vision of a ton of like 300 to 500 pound people pounding away on keyboards looking at pornography. It's like what our devalued society went into, and then it eventually proceeded into me being exiled by my family on the curb and being left out into the wilderness and then eventually dying. And it was like, it may have been a phantasm of like maybe me being distrustful or something of my family, but no, I felt like my family was doing evil things to me, and I felt like I was doing evil things to myself, and a lot of those things were manifesting in that experience, and it was very powerful and helpful, and there are a lot of truths there, and I think that a lot of that evil stuff probably did go on, and we have to be careful with mushrooms. And I would never do mushrooms around my parents. It just doesn't seem right to me. Because I don't even like the nature of them being my parents is weird to me. I don't even know. Like they aren't the same type of parents that I am to my daughter. It's just so clear. There were so many things hidden from me, and it hurts. And I hate that I have to share this stuff, and it sucks. And I don't like it, but it helps in a way, and I hope that it helps somebody. That's why I put this out here. But mushrooms have been very helpful to me, and I just I have another sports ringe. I'm gonna grow some more. They're helpful. Had a had a girl go south recently. Trichoderma, for those who know mushrooms, that happens. You don't have really good settings. You don't have your area well sterilized. I got trichoderma, and hopefully I'll have another good fruiting, another good growth of mushrooms in the near future, because I think they can be so beneficial to us in healing from strange traumas and so forth. And I think if you're not in this club and you've got a decent head on your shoulders, bullies can't avoid you. Like, you're gonna be picked on, you're gonna be treated like crap for no reason, and I think it doesn't get talked about enough in the sense of the club at all, because the club is so vast, seemingly. Um, but yeah, people that they look to have decent family life, or maybe on the outside and things are looking good, but then they treat you like dog shit, because it seems to give them a chuckle. Like, you can just see it in their character. You can read body language. I've been around people like this. I've made videos about this. It's sick the way we get treated, laughed at for no reason, like just snickering and all the secrets. And just, this cover's kind of funny in a way, but in a way it is kind of true that, like, they're giving you a lot of attention, so they must like something about you, or they're jealous of you in a way. There's something innate to that. But yeah, evil always undoes itself. So who's got to look deeper? Who's got to really think about who they're hurting, because we're all connected in a way. So bullying only will ever go back to you. It's weird. So something to consider. Oh, and then this bully I had, the one I always think about, like my main bully. So his bullying hit the fever pitch. hit the highest point. He got to his peak in bullying one day when he decided on a whim, and I had heard about this, but I didn't know about this ability until I saw it for myself. I didn't like really take it seriously. I thought it was a joke. It is no joke. This bully of mine, he chased me up the hill where I lived, and through the cut through and down to the bike trail and down a couple miles and beyond, like 3 miles out, pretty much felt like, yeah, about 3 miles out, and then back, and attempted to urinate on me while I was hiding from him because I was just out of like, disbelief. He was chasing me, yelling about how he was going to pee on me and just like prove it to me that he's going to pee on me. And I didn't say that he couldn't do it at all. He just like started and went after me. And it was instigated by his brother, I believe, in a way, because his brother was mentioning it. And then he just felt the need to prove himself. Or like, it was very strange, but he had a hard on and needed to go pee on me. So on the way back, as we got back to the cut through, I'm like, I can't believe that he's doing this. So I'm walking with my bike, just kind of laughing about the whole situation. I can't believe it's going on. I feel like I'm in some sort of crazy manic dream, but it's real life. And he does hit me. He hit me with his pee a couple of times, like across the shoulder, across the back. I have urine on me from him, and on a deeper level, I'm like, I know urine's not that far from water, and even though he probably drinks gross shit, I'll be fine. But it was a little. I was like, oh fuck, like you got me or whatever. But I was just more blown away at the situation. Like this person's literally chasing me with his penis and urinating, and the idea that his penis was jokingly sewn on upside down, and he had amazing. It's just one of those crazy stories from youth that just went way too far. It's got all this weirdness around it. Yes, I have been chased by someone, my neighborhood bully, who tried. He effectively he did urinate on me from like 20 feet away, and to this day, it was one of the most significant moments of my life, just in how crazy it was. Yes, I doubt you had something like that happen to you, and I feel bad for you if you did. We do not. I mean, I feel like we all get urinated on at some point. It's gonna happen. But that one was a little. That's one of the strangest urinations. If I had that on camera, that would be on viral everything. The man chases a person with stowed on backwards penis. You can blur out whatever, but just the idea, the range, like there's certain hoses and you put in different set. It's crazy. And just yeah, okay. This is on a deeper level to get back into the kind of the general programming ideas of the psyops of our youth. This is an image I saw recently, and like just the idea of a slave. What does that even mean? It's like they're already doing it to us now. Like you have this whole fake world put around you, and to not be in it is a challenge. It's everyday spiritual warfare to not like to not succumb to it, and to be strong and to do what's right and acknowledge evil things steadfastly and be good. It gets easier with time. And so this came up a lot recently, the idea of the Pledge of Allegiance, pledging allegiance to a flag that you don't agree with. Like the idea of the US is so, and just any place in the world nowadays is so messed up. They split them up into states and different laws for different states and make it confusing and make it seem like it's difficult to really move unless you have significant funds. And guest speaker talks about it, a lot of people talk about it, just people that have invisible money, people that don't. It's bullshit. It's not backed by anything. Like the people that have the most money are often doing the least or doing the worst things. And it's just this sick crucible that we are stuck in, and we have to pull out of it. And the way you do it is by realigning your passions for good and not succumbing to the obvious evils that were not so obvious in our earlier years. And they become more obvious as we get older, which is really helpful. Satan is not, he cannot be hidden. You can see it. You can see the um, messed up things that people do, and not contribute to them, and call them out. The Pledge of Allegiance is psychotic. The idea that, like, oh, every war was fine was basically like the most evil thing I thought about. Like, I don't agree with war. I hated this. I always have hated the Star Spangled Banner. How it's it's interwoven with war. It's disgusting. And I hate the Pledge of Allegiance because it's basically saying we condone the violence that made us the superpower city on the bullshit. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance is a bunch of bullcrap. It's basically saying that you align with Masonic theater. So no thanks. How about the scoliosis? I thought it was eye scoliosis. When I was young, I remember seeing the eye. Maybe they did some Mandela bullshit to it. I don't care. But yeah, scoliosis screening. This girl looks pretty young. I think I was older than that. But I remember being about seventh, eighth. No, I think it was sixth grade. It was sixth. It was when I was 12 years old. They did this. And I've heard, I read the guest speaker take on it that they were checking the genders with their skeletons and all that. And maybe, but I feel like that's, if you know to look, I think you figure it out. Like, it's not that complicated most of the time. Like, you just spend enough time with somebody, it's like you pretty well know what they are. Um, but maybe it's a thought. It did feel, I guess, a little bit weird to go. Everybody goes to the gym, and we all go in one at a time into the locker room and have our backs checked. But there was so much other weird shit going on. It didn't feel that out of the ordinary. Like, and again, like the weekly fire alarms, like pretty frequent fire alarms, among other things. Public school was a strange sort of prison, though. Bells, like obviously Pavlov's dog, every 45 minutes to an hour. So many video games are like, you have a minute to do this. How about this? A mad minute? You guys do these mad minutes? I remember these, and oh my god, when I was in third, fourth grade, I was first or second or third every time. Like, it was never a question. There was two other guys in my class who we were like we were very good at math, and we would all do it. And one of us, he would probably finish first, if not the most. He was like up there. He'd often finish first, but he didn't always get his problems correct. The other guy and I, we were always like right there, always getting our problems correct, doing them fast. But the nature of it makes me think and it's gross. It's competitive. I didn't like the feeling of it. It was a gross energy to be a part of. It was this ultra competitive nonsense when you have people that we grow at different rates. And maybe mathematics comes to us differently. We can't just force the same program on every single person. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't make any sense that way. I think numbers are important. Understanding mathematics is important, but the way it's expressed, these mad minutes, like it's not healthy. And so much about so much about my youth is this competitive, gross, base energy, militaristic base energy, where it's like we're all the same team, but really we're like fighting against each other all the time. And I can't I can't be behind it. I don't like it. I look back at my youth and I cringe at the people that condoned this behavior. I'm never gonna let my child touch that with the 40-foot rod. Sorry, public school is broken. And then yeah, okay, my elementary school, I'm just going to say it, K through 4. They changed it to a 5th grade, 6th grade school the year before me. So I was in the second year of a 6th grade school, which is a very strange thing for America. But my K through 4 school, all the teachers were Swires. It was insane. There was one Martin teacher, all were Swires, pretty like, and there was one woman who I had. And the one woman I had was the best teacher I had, bar none. And it was because she was patient. It was because she was calm. It's not that the Swires were that bad. It's like it's just there was that air of authenticity, and that's what I stick to. And also, I felt that she was being harassed by the other teachers where the other ones were not. And I know the whole system is bad to everyone in many ways, but it clearly favors a certain it clearly favors the witches and wizards, so to speak. And like, I even invited my first grade Swire teacher over for I remember this for dinner. Like we had like my I was extremely excited about my classes and doing all this stuff, but thinking back and like really thinking about the relationships I had with these people, the most genuine, heartfelt one was the like it's all it was the lady, and she was the one that was not in the club, the one that was actually substituting for an entire year for a teacher that was pregnant that looped over with our class. But I didn't. I mean, it was crazy growing up. I look back and I am blown away at how fast it went in some ways, but then also I'm blown away at all the faces, how it's all arranged in such a weird way, how I feel like now as an adult I have no attachment to this world that I thought I might have some attachment to when I was really little, because I felt like I can always be a teacher. I know I can still be a teacher. We're all meant to be teachers and students. But to go into this system, it just it's pure evil. And when you know so much of it's fake, and they all like have a certain look to them, like a jaw like that, no chest, and you're wearing clothes that sort of hide what you are, but not at all. And I don't mean to like I hate this. I hate this stupid world, but you just see the favoritism obviously blatantly everywhere. And they can't talk about it because oh, it's just you get sick of it and you're bored of it and you want to move on and you want to like go somewhere away from it. And I don't know how anybody who isn't in this club isn't actively giving everything they have to like live outside in the wilderness, basically, very simply, because I do not condone this vastly evil system. Yeah, we had like one Martin in our whole school, so it's just interesting. I don't know, maybe there's something to that. I've seen a lot of imagery around that. It makes a lot of sense that the man is more, generally speaking, like more intellect, and the woman is more emotional, and it's in the genuine teaching of things. And obviously, you're going to have both going on all the time from both parties. But maybe the deeper intellectual lessons and the deeper emotional lessons, and maybe they're just in terms of temperament, are often led by the male or the female, respectively. Yes, it's a thought. And yeah, it's a nutty world, and I like this. This is a cool image, cool book. I haven't read it, but just like the painting. It's a nutty world, and maybe at the end of the day, we're becoming trees, and like we let go of our crazy youth, and things were scary, and we couldn't choose as much back then, and now that we can, we can take a sigh of relief. There are paths we can take, and it may be a chaotic world, and there's always going to be there's going to be things that come up that are out of your control that require you to make split second decisions, and they may not be easy to make, but you do everything you can. You have faith in God, and you share your truths. And I generally your truth, like you share the things that deeply affect you and have impacted your life and have made you the person that you've become, and the things that you've seen along the way that you found to be nonsensical, that were traumatic to you, but now you can look past and see how silly they are and allow everybody to heal and forgive. And if you continue to see the evil take place, then you can actively respond in the moment to it because you can see it. So it's nice to grow old in many ways, because the tricks don't work on you anymore, and you can aim for the good and potentially help somebody out of a situation where they feel like there's no help, but the reality is there is help. It's just they're looking in the wrong places, or they keep digging and digging with people that have this barrier up. And that's just the reality, is that a lot of people have a barrier up, and we have to be open and bold so as to eliminate barriers from life, because we ultimately want to heal and grow as people as best we can. And we can't do that if we're lying. So eliminating lying from our life, and then everything that goes with it, is our key to true peace and healing, by acknowledging the evils of how we grow people, how we grow. I mean, think about it. Like, this whole school system, it's basically like how to garden people, right? Like, they want to make a system that's effective, but it doesn't work. It's broken. It's filled with lies. It's like they're using Miracle Grow and all sorts of evil things inside of it to get these strange effects, and ultimately create drones that can't think for themselves and can't expand beyond the box that they're put into, with all the fixins of, gorillas and space and dinosaurs. They can't pull out of that. It hurts too much, so they just stay in it, and they marinate in the cesspool, instead of saying, wow, that stuff's really silly, and it's not fun to me anymore, and I'm not going to entertain it because it has such a harmful basis. And deciding to grow forth and explore and understand for themselves the deeper realities of this world, and not research, but study or discover what is new today.